I think I did very good. I can give this an A performance because it's not too much damage I took from this fight. I did use my reach like everybody wants me to always. So I think listening and sticking to the plan gives me that A performance.
Man, that dude need to be 86 from the division. He way too tall. I'm sorry, they need to calibrate them scales. I don't know how he making them weight classes. It is not fair.
Chico.
It is not fair.
So he beats Tszyu, and then he beats, Thurman, who's been very inactive, moved up in weight, and was a huge underdog for those reasons. So let him beat somebody maybe a little bit of a higher level of thought before you go too crazy.
Sebastian Fundora has responded to criticism following his win over Keith Thurman, stating that he simply used his natural height and reach advantage the way any fighter would, and rejecting claims that the bout was stopped too early, insisting instead that the referee made the correct decision based on the damage and momentum in the fight.
Was talking about the fight maybe being stopped prematurely. Did you feel that way being in there with him? Did you feel like you had sufficiently damaged him and that he was on his last legs?
I didn't think it was stopped prematurely. I thought it was stopped at the right time because as soon as that eye cut open, the doctor was already looking at that eye, and it was all purple. As soon as we stepped into the 6th round, I knew I had to bust it open, and then it happened with one of the first punches. But me as a person, as a human being, I wouldn't want him to take any more damage. But this is boxing, so it's not up to me.
And out of all the guys in the division, is there any one of them that you want the most?
Not really. I think I'm the best. I think they all need to come to me.
However, Keith Thurman criticized the referee for stopping the fight early, insisting he was still in control and capable of turning things around, arguing that the bout was just beginning to become competitive and that he only needed a few more rounds to mount a comeback and possibly win, while also emphasizing that he had trained hard and felt he still had enough left to change the outcome before the stoppage.
He definitely trained hard. He has that conditioning. He's a volume puncher. And, I think it's just that little bit of a press that he was putting on that, let that referee feel, the way that he felt to jump in. But, he was pressing. He was opening up. He was starting to throw wide. And that's where, the veteran has an opportunity to shine. I'm telling you, man, the fans were loving it. The action was getting real. There was no need to just stop it right then and right there, But, once again, I'm not that beat up. I can fight more, and we'll see what happens, man. But it was a good fight. I wanted a great fight, and I think if it went just a few more minutes, something great would happen. Or maybe I would have got dropped, and then, at the end of the day, I can accept a true defeat. But defeat on top of defeat, it just doesn't feel right, man. It's very unfortunate because I've never been stopped in my career, not in the amateurs, not in the pros. So just a referee depicting my future like that, I don't like it.
Some observers also believe Keith Thurman deserved more time to prove himself, arguing that as a former world champion he may have been capable of turning the fight around if the bout had been allowed to continue longer, suggesting that his experience and resilience could have given him a chance to recover momentum despite the difficult position he was in.
WBC 154-pound champ, the tallest champion in all of boxing, active champion, Sebastian Fundora at 6'6", 154 pounds, defended his title in an impressive performance versus former world champion, welterweight champion, Keith one-time Thurman. And in the lead up to this fight, Bud, there was a lot of talk about Thurman's inactivity, Thurman's injuries, and then the size difference. Could Thurman use angles and movement to get Fundora's feet crossed up or off balance and then look to be effective in spots, maybe with the left hook? He tried. Keith Thurman came there to win. He gave it his all, but in the end, Fundora was too much. The punches, the leverage, the volume, you name it. He gets the stoppage. A lot of people out there are not thrilled with the stoppage. Referee Taylor stopped the fight. I thought it was a little premature, especially when you're talking about a former world champion in Keith Thurman. You give him a little more opportunity. But where the fight was leading, the way it felt like the stoppage was coming and probably inevitable. In the end, again, very impressive performance by Fundora.
Teddy Atlas also weighed in on the controversy, admitting he didn't fully agree with the stoppage, while acknowledging that Keith Thurman was taking noticeable damage from Sebastian Fundora, suggesting that the referee may have stepped in slightly too quickly given Thurman's experience and ability to remain competitive, even if he was clearly being worn down at that stage of the fight.
I didn't love the stoppage with the referee. I thought the referee, look, he was compassionate. He did the right thing, right? He protected the fighter, but he protected himself a little bit too because it was looking a little bit bad there. But I wasn't thrilled with the referee stopping it, I'll tell you right now. But it's awful hard to argue strongly against it because he was getting busted up. It was a whitewash. It was one-way traffic. It didn't look like he had answers. He had the right idea, but it wasn't being executed. The idea was to move, use his athleticism, move side to side, keep Fundora moving his feet, switching his stances, and then get in, jump in, move in, close in real quick and attack when Fundora wasn't ready to punch.
Teddy Atlas also referenced Sebastian Fundora's earlier bout with Tim Tszyu, where Tszyu suffered a severe head cut from an accidental elbow and had to continue fighting with impaired vision for much of the contest. Atlas noted that the controversial nature of that fight fueled some fan speculation about Fundora's tactics and equipment, although the injury was widely regarded as accidental rather than intentional wrongdoing, adding context to why some observers remain critical or cautious when evaluating Fundora's fights.
Fundora. But before we go too crazy, remember the guys that he's beaten recently. He beat Costas, he beat, what's his name, Tszyu. He beat Tszyu, who he had beaten once before in a controversial fight where Tszyu was bleeding very badly. And before he fought him in a rematch, Tszyu had been knocked out. So he beats Tszyu, and then he beats, Thurman, who's been very inactive, moved up in weight, and was a huge underdog for those reasons. So let him beat somebody, maybe a little bit of a higher level of thought before you go too crazy. But I agree, he has improved since he won the title.
Sebastian Fundora possesses a significant physical advantage over most fighters in the 154-pound division, standing around 6 feet 5 inches with an 80-inch reach, often towering over his opponents, which allows him to control distance effectively, land punches from long range, and create difficult stylistic matchups for smaller fighters who struggle to close the gap or fight inside his preferred range.
Keith Thurman, legend, battered, bruised, didn't knock him down, but did everything else. Man, talk to us about the matchup.
Keith Thurman had a hill to climb, you know what I'm saying? That's the thing with Fundora. And man, that layoff didn't help me. Like I was just telling my boy Ramon, I was thinking he should have fought first. Should have fought Charlo first. I would like to see that first. Maybe scrap the whole thing. They tried to make this thing twice and it didn't go. So I think Fundora should have been held up. He should have been put with somebody else, even though I think he hurt himself the second time. So the first time Keith Thurman hurt himself, then the second time, boom, and boy hurt himself. But it was a good fight, man. Keith Thurman, he showed his heart, he showed his guts. You know what I'm saying? He landed some shots in between, and but they didn't face Fundora.
Sebastian Fundora made it clear that his win over Keith Thurman was not solely due to his size and physical advantages, stressing instead that the victory came after months of intense preparation, disciplined training, and careful strategic planning, emphasizing that his performance inside the ring reflected dedicated work and fight-specific adjustments rather than just relying on his natural height and reach.
I think it was a great performance. Just a lot of training in this camp. We've been training for him since August of last year. So, it was unfortunate that we couldn't fight in October, but we stayed training. We stayed getting ready for this former Hall of Famer and show tonight.
At the official weigh-in before their title fight, the physical contrast between Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman was immediately clear, with Fundora weighing in at 153.6 pounds while standing nearly 6 feet 6 inches with an 80-inch reach, giving him a dramatic height and reach advantage over Thurman, who stands around 5 feet 8 inches, highlighting one of the most extreme size disparities in the division heading into the bout.
There they are, ladies and gentlemen. It's the PBC pay-per-view main event of the evening. 12 rounds for the WBC Super Welterweight Championship of the World. The towering inferno Sebastian Fundora taking on the challenger, Keith one-time Thurman.
Rolando Romero criticized Sebastian Fundora, saying he is simply too big for the 154-pound division and questioning how he is even able to make the weight, while also expressing confusion over why sanctioning bodies have not intervened, suggesting that Fundora's extreme height and reach create an unfair advantage over smaller opponents and raise broader concerns about competitive balance in the division.
Forget about it is not fair for him to be in that weight class.
Would you pick him against the 154? So is that what you're saying? Like,
it is not fair for him to be in that weight class. They need to calibrate them scales. We don't know how he makes that weight, all stuff. There is some kind of trickery going on in boxing that nobody wants to talk about.
What do you think about the sustained beatings that he passes out? When he fights, it's the way he gets on top of people and just destroys them.
Man, he over there trying to chop every head off. I'm telling you like this, man. I sit there, man. I just look. I'm like, there's no way. Like you gotta go over there and just like boom, right on the top like that, right? Hope for the best.
Meanwhile, Sebastian Fundora made it clear he has no plans to move up in weight anytime soon, insisting he still has unfinished business in the 154-pound division. He emphasized that there are still major fights available for him at this weight class and stated his intention to face the top contenders before even considering a move to another division, reinforcing his commitment to fully clear out the competition where he currently competes.